Who is going first?
I'll go first.
Okay, Riley wants to go first.
Okay. We believe that most kids should be able to play contact sports because children need exposure to physical contact and to build up a level of toughness and discipline that can be carried through later life. Kids will also learn a level of respect for officials, coaches, and teammates and competitors while playing these sports. Contact sports can also teach kids to be confident and also not to be cocky. These sports can also teach kids how to deal with losing and winning. Overall, there are a lot that can be taught through contact sports and that can aid in later life.
Good. Okay, other side.
Kids in 4th grade or younger should not be allowed to play aggressive contact sports like football, rugby, wrestling, and boxing because it can cause many injuries. These injuries have long-term effects. Other effects sports can have on kids at a young age is the pressure of coaches and parents only focused on winning. This can make it a bad experience for the kids who are trying to have fun and learn. The coaches aren't always as friendly to the kids who aren't doing very well, but instead focus on the kids who know how to play and don't bother anyone else. Kids deserve an equal chance, but the parents and coaches' attitude towards some of the kids can be hurtful. This is why we believe kids should not be allowed to play contact sports at a young age.
Okay. I can't understand my own handwriting. Their attitudes. Got it. Okay, now counter arguments. So each team will go back to Riley's group. Somebody else needs to speak. And you're going to add some additional information on your behalf, or you can counter any of the opening arguments that Carla said. You ready?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I see your point, but most sport injuries can be prevented when the child has proper gear and is prepared for the game. The 3 most common injuries are acute, overuse, and re-injuries. Acute injuries often happen when there is a lack of proper gear or equipment. Overuse injuries happen when a repetitive action causes too much stress on a body part, and re-injuries happen when an athlete returns to a sport with an injury that is not properly healed. These 3 common injuries are not caused by sports, but by the athlete. You cannot blame the sport for something the player could have prevented.
Good. Ladies, you can counter what Orly said, or you can add your own.
Like we said in our opening argument, aggressive sports
Can you talk a little louder, Tess? I'm sorry.
You just called me Tesla.
What?
You called me Tesla.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Emma. Sorry. Go ahead.
Like we said in our opening argument, aggressive sports can cause severe brain damage. AARP wrote an article, and it talks about a girl named Melanie Worth who had multiple brain injuries when she was little because she played sports, and now she's 40, and she says that she can't remember simple things like how to take her daughter to school, and she forgets how to cook. These severe brain injuries can have long-term effects, like I said, and like Melanie is experiencing.
This is why I called you Tessa, because I wrote Tessa at the top of the paper instead of Emma. Okay, sorry about that. All right, excellent. Now we're moving on to 1 minute go-rounds where you can go back and forth and actually have an open debate. Okay, so since Emma was the last that spoke, we'll start with Cooper. Cooper is going to say something. He can either defend what his team has already said or he can counter what you guys have said. And then as soon as he's finished talking, the other side goes and you can go back and forth, okay? Never more than a minute, but you can be under if you want to. All right, go ahead, begin.
So we believe that it should be the child and the parents' decision because it's basically their decision because they're the ones that are actually like getting involved in the sport. So we don't believe that other people should dictate what they can do.
We understand your point, but kids can still get injuries, and even if these parents have their kid, and even if the kid wants to do it, they can still get injuries. And even if they have all the proper gear, they can still get injuries. And these injuries can be very serious. And kids are still growing and developing, and it's not good for them to get injured. And they still can get injured even if they have gear.
Okay. Next group.
Well, I think they can still get injured, even with the proper gear, but it can also be the other team. because they could not know how to play correctly and they could do something wrong by tackling in football. For example, somebody that might not know how to tackle correctly could tackle way too high and hit the head, which that would be the player's fault, not the sport.
That might be, but because of certain injuries and how people are getting hurt, even if it's the other team's fault, we found this on the Stanford article. It can cause like memory loss, making them not want to do the sports because they're not having fun, because people aren't playing the proper way, doing what they're supposed to.
I see your point, but technology now is better and more productive than ever. So the rate of concussions has lowered by over 10% in the last couple of years.
We see that they've lowered, but around 750,000 kids still get injured, and 80,000 of these kids can experience long-term effects and disabilities, and these severe brain injuries can lead to Alzheimer's and dementia in later life.
Mm-hmm. Are we done? Anyone else? Last call for counter arguments. Okay, moving on to closing. So it looks like Cooper's team started with the open debate. So that means Emma's group, you'll start with closing statements. Go ahead.
For many reasons, we believe that kids in 14 and younger should not be allowed to play aggressive contact sports.
The American Association of Neurosurgeons says that among children and adolescents, sports and recreational activities contribute to over 20% of all traumatic brain injuries and traumatic brain damage, can cause brief changes in mental state and concussions, and they can even have extended periods of unconsciousness, coma, or even death. Aggressive sports not only cause physical changes, but they also cause mental changes.
As you can see, the statement proves that young children should be able to play contact sports. Due to the fact that many contact sports injuries have been avoided and contact sports can teach many great life lessons. Studies show that those who reported they did not intend to participate in sports at age 8 to 14 were 22% more likely to suffer depression in their late 20s and 30s. Another study showed that children and adolescents who play contact sports, including football, are no more likely to experience cognitive impairment, depression, or suicidal thoughts in early adulthood than their peers. The University of Colorado came to this solution after studying nearly 11,000 youth for 14 years. These studies prove fully that contact sports such as football in your youth does not show permanent brain damage or any other permanent damages to your body.
Okay. Very good. Excellent. Let's give them a round of applause. Nicely done.